Good Saturday morning, Jackson, West Tennessee, and welcome in Sports Talk Live with the coach. That's me, Coach T. Stratton, live on location right here at Caddy Sports Club. You guessed it, the world-famous Caddy Sports Club right here in Jackson, Tennessee. And, get your golf on today, but not only that, they have all kinds of games for the adults and the kids. If you don't want to play golf, that's okay. You can get over here and play some frisbee golf. You can play baseball, basketball, softball. You can do soccer. You can do all kinds of things right here on the simulators. This is world-class entertainment. They got pool tables. They got cornhole. They've got a sitting lounge. You can come over here and just grab some pizza, get the in-house pretzels along with the BLT. It's fabulous, and I'm not sure if it is official yet, if they're out, but for sure, broken just last week, Daniel Fry said wings are going to be on the menu, and so get over here and enjoy yourself some fabulous cuisine right here at Caddy Sports Club. Just come in for dinner if you want. Just come in, watch a game. They got the 20-foot screen up top. They've got the big screens on the bars, behind the bar. They've got TVs all over the place. And you can get signed up. If you're a golfer, you can go ahead and get signed up for one of the events they're having here, and that is the Masters Pro-Am, in which is a really cool event that they're having here. And that event is you will come in and you will play your round at the Masters. You have to do that before Saturday, the week of the Masters, and you will play your round at Augusta here on the simulators. Then you will be paired up with a pro that is playing in the Masters this year. At the end of the Saturday, or at the end of the tournament on Sunday, the scores will be tallied. Your score will be paired with that pro score. I'm going to need to get somebody that would shoot maybe like a 30 for the entire round. Because my golf score is not where it needs to be. But some of you guys will come in here, and I've seen some low scores now, but you can come in and get that. You'll be paired up with a pro, and then your scores will be tallied at the end of the tournament, and then somebody will walk away winner of the Masters right here at Caddy's. Where can you go and say that other than Augusta? Well, right here at Caddy Sports Club right here in Jackson, Tennessee. Get over here today, 601 Van Drive. Get online and make your bookings there. Check out Caddies on their website. You could catch them on their Facebook page. They're always, just like we are here at the Hub City Sports Network, always happy for you to like and follow our pages. So Caddy Sports Club on Facebook, Instagram, and all the rest. You can follow us right here on the Hub City Sports Network. My show, Sports Talk Live with the coach, that's me. You can follow that. It's on page on Facebook. Follow us here on Hub City Sports Network, and we'll be in our stream each and every week. We've got the bounce back this week, so Coach Andrew Hicks will have his show on Thursday, I do believe, this week. That actually may air on Wednesday. We'll see how that goes, but nonetheless, we'll have Coach Andrew Hicks on at some point this week for you. And I'm telling you what, if you haven't seen his show yet, you're in for a treat because he does a great job with his show. And it's pretty cool to see the guests he's got in and the topics. Love his hot takes. And so we're right here at Caddy Sports Club right here in Jackson, Tennessee. And we've got a great lineup for you this morning. We're going to have potentially Coach Wilson in from Early College High, the new head coach of the flag football program there. We're going to have Coach Josh Mitchell from Northside High in this morning, and we're going to have conversations about this game of flag football. They'll be in around the 10 o'clock hour, but we've got a special treat this morning. We've got a call coming in from North Carolina, from Chapel Hill. No, not Chapel Hill. Boy, if you are a Duke fan, I do apologize for saying that, but I believe this call is coming in from Duke this morning, and ACC umpire Tommy Separillo will be on the phone with us, and we're going to have some conversation about baseball, about umpiring, and his life on the road as a baseball umpire, as well as the game of baseball. I'm telling you what, Coach Separillo been around this area for a long time, and he is continuing his love for the game now, umpiring at one of the elite levels of baseball, and that's college baseball right here in the United States. And I'm telling you, he's got some big games slated up. We'll see who he's calling today on the schedule, but we'll catch up with him here shortly. He should be calling in about 20 minutes. So as always, let's go ahead and run down the scores from yesterday. I'd like to get that, and we've got what a game last night on in the NCAA tournament, the Sweet 16 rolling on, and Purdue and Houston. What a game that was last night for the Boilermakers and Houston. And I do believe that Houston came away with that victory. We'll check that score out as well. But let's look at some scores in and around West Tennessee in baseball. In baseball last night, Santa Fe and Houston County tied one on. It was a 24-10. It looked like a football score out there, but no, this is baseball. Santa Fe 1-8 on the season, gets the 24 runs on Houston County, and wow, what a big game there. Science Hill also gets a win over Collierville. Memphis Central gets a win over Kirby 8-6. Memphis Overton 20-10. Another big score there in baseball. You don't see those scores very often. Memphis Overton gets the win over Memphis Business. If anybody's got that University School of Nashville score out there over Mount Juliet Christian, that might be listening, go ahead and send that in if you would to our text line 731-298-0099. Also our call line. If you have if you want to be a part of the show, don't call at 9:30 today because we'll have Coach and umpire Tommy Separillo in on the line, so I want to leave that clear. But if you want to be a part of the show, you have a comment, a question, feel free to go ahead and call in. In softball, last night, CAK gets a victory over Providence Academy. Madison Academic beats Peabody. Madison Academic 5-0 on the season. Go Mustangs. 4-1 over a Peabody squad yesterday, and we'll have to so the coach that was at Madison is now at West Carroll, so we're going to find out who's coaching over there, and we'll get that to you. I said that was a softball score. I apologize. That's a Madison Academic soccer score. Men's soccer 4-1 over Peabody. Madison Academic soccer is pretty good. I do apologize for that. Again, that is a soccer score, not a softball score. In softball, not much going on a Friday night. Loretto picks up the 11-1 win over Hardin County. Hardin County 0-1, at least here on the season. You know, these spring sports, one of the things that we have to look at with spring is the weather. The weather's been beautiful this week, so I'm sure a lot of games being played across the region and the state. But nonetheless, you always have to be prepared for this time of the year and the weather that you get. Let's get over to some ESPN scores and catch you up on last night. If you are a bracket buster follower, you've been following the NCAA tournament, and boy, what a week of basketball we've had, and so. And if you're in the state of Tennessee, what a week, we continue to have here as well. So Tennessee women's program still in it, 24-9 on the season. They will take on Texas, the number 1 seed in the women's tournament today. That game can be seen on ABC at 2:30. That game is on ESPN Plus and Disney Plus as well. So that game in Birmingham, Alabama, the Region 3. And this is the NCAA Women's Sweet 16. Congratulations to Tennessee. Keep it on rolling there. USC, they will take on Kansas State. Without Juju, you wonder how far they can go, how deep they can make this run. Well, they're in the Sweet 16. Can they keep it up against a very good Kansas State team today? We'll see. Last night in men's action, Tennessee gets Kentucky 78-65. And they advance to the Elite Eight. So Tennessee in the Elite Eight. Today in the Elite Eight in the West region, Florida and Texas Tech will tie one on. Florida 33-4 on the season. So we'll see how that goes moving forward. So in that Houston-Purdue game, wow, what a ending that was. It was 62-60. Houston prevails. Houston, number 1 seed, and still in the tournament, rolling, and gets a big win, a tough win over Purdue. What about this Alabama-Duke game? We got Tommy Separillo going to be calling in here in just a few minutes. He's at Duke for baseball, and we'll get the rundown on what he feels the vibe is in Duke or at Duke University for the NCAA tournament. Duke, obviously, one of the prestigious colleges in America when it comes to basketball, and the history and the historic runs, the players that have come through Duke University, they are going to be out in full force in support of the Blue Devils. So let's see what happens with that. Hey, if you've not been watching any NCAA men's hockey, I've had some of that on this week as well. What a game as UConn picks up a win last night, 4-1. Denver over Providence, 5-1. Penn State over Maine, 5-1. Boston College over Bentley. Bentley University is just who Union beat in the Union University beat in the NCAA Division II to get to the Elite Eight, and so we've seen that name before. But nonetheless, some hockey action going on, and again, if you're not watching hockey, college hockey is very exciting, and yeah, just very exciting. So trying to pull up this bracket here, and it will not let me do this for some reason. So Auburn beats Michigan in the Sweet 16. That game was last night, 78-65. Auburn moves and advances into the Elite Eight. Houston also advances. that 62-60 victory over Purdue. Michigan State advances. I like Michigan State. I like their style of play. You can never count out Tom Izzo. And they get the 73-70 victory over Ole Miss. And then obviously that Tennessee-Kentucky game. Those teams are now all in the Elite Eight. Some Elite Eight action today moving forward. Florida again, Texas Tech, and Duke versus Alabama, and that's going to be a very interesting matchup in my opinion. Just because of the style of play that Alabama plays. I think it's one of those things where this could be a very, very high-scoring game. Cooper Flagg is, he is the real deal. He will go out and score in bunches and can do anything on the floor. And so it's going to be a tough one. We do have a baseball score of interest from around West Tennessee, and this just in, Northside in a tough battle against Dyersburg. Came up just a little short. That was a 4-0 victory for Dyersburg last night on the diamond. And again, we're going to talk about baseball here just in a few minutes. Thanks, Coach Maxwell, for getting that score in to us this morning. Give a big shout out to Frank Chapman over in Haywood County watching this morning, and also saw my buddy from Germany, Goleg. Good morning, sir. Well, it's not good morning, sir, to you. I believe it would be good night, sir. And but I always appreciate him tuning in. He most of the time he kind of watches a replay of the show, but he just sent me a text and said, "Hey, watching on YouTube." So, man, I really appreciate you tuning in from Germany. You know, Sports Talk Live, the Hub City Sports Network. We're not just in Jackson, Tennessee, and West Tennessee. We are branching out into Germany. And hey, do they know anything about our schools? Nope, they sure don't. But they'll learn if they watch the show long enough. And so appreciate Goleg tuning in this morning. And I'll have to see if I can officially find out what time it is over there in Germany right now. So appreciate that. Hey, we've got Tommy Ciparillo going to be calling in here in just a minute or two, and he'll be calling in and tuning in with us this morning. We'll be talking with him live right here on Sports Talk Live with the coach. And so we're going to step away for a quick break. Actually, he's trying to call in, but he's calling in on the wrong phone. Let me text him the right number. And we'll be live right here with Tommy Ciparillo in just a second. All right. Waiting for him to roll in. And got to send him the right number here. And here he is. Let's get him on the line here. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Let me get your volume up here. All right. Tommy Ciparillo on the line. Sports Talk Live with the coach. That's me right here. Do you have us? Let's get us a mic check. Can you hear us, Tommy?
Yeah, good morning.
Okay. All right. Good. All right. So Tommy Ciparillo calling in from North Carolina, Duke University, and what we've got going on out there at Duke University today.
Well, had the ACC Network game of the night last night. NC State at Duke baseball. And, obviously, people are super excited out here about sports. Excuse me. The girls team obviously beat North Carolina yesterday to move on in the NCAA tournament, and a monster matchup today with Alabama. And but baseball is, I think Duke got off to a slow start, but they have absolutely been tearing it up the last couple weeks. And so packed house last night. It was just a fun environment for baseball.
Yeah, definitely. And of course, with what's going on in the NCAA tournament with Duke playing some basketball, I think I made mention of it before we got on here. I mean, Duke is just crazy about sports. They're just one of those fanatic schools about their sports teams. And so, I mean, wow, what an opportunity for Duke here with their spring sports and basketball still rolling to continue their legacy.
Yeah, and it's pretty cool out here. Our locker room is actually inside Cameron Indoor.
Oh, wow. Okay. So how is the we talk about baseball here. You officially, I guess, let me rephrase that question. What is the organization that you officially umpire for? Is it the AAC or the ACC, or is it a collegiate organization of umpires that can umpire any level of college baseball?
Well, across the country, there's multiple different, assigners. And there are just a few of the Power Four assigners. So I actually work for Troy Fullwood, who assigns the ACC, Conference USA, SWAC, and Big South. And then I also work for Mike Conlon, who assigns the Missouri Valley, which was at Murray State last week. But most of my games, or actually the majority of my stuff, comes from Troy Fullwood. So 4 ACC conference weekends this year. I'll be right back out here next week. I got Virginia at NC State next week, and then 2 weeks from now, I think I'm at Stanford with Notre Dame at Stanford, and then finish up my ACC with Miami at Virginia. I think that's like second weekend in May or something like that.
So they couldn't pull that of getting you the Virginia at Miami game?
Hey, Coach, I can barely hear you.
How's that? Is that much better?
Oh, a lot better.
Okay,
Yes.
There we go. So my question there is they couldn't get you the Virginia at Miami game?
Well, no, that'd be nice. I actually went to Miami last year.
Okay.
And
Okay.
It was pretty fun. I had Clemson at Miami series last year.
All right. So you've already done that trip. So I guess it wouldn't be that as exciting, huh?
Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to going to Stanford. Got the crew. We've already talked, and we've got tickets. You know, me being a criminal justice guy, we're actually going to do a tour of Alcatraz.
Oh, wow. Okay. That'll be great. I toured that. Probably 25 years ago, 26 years ago, and right before I got married. So I guess it's been 28 years ago now, and it was I mean, just to I have a criminal justice degree as well, and so it's one of those things that I think if you're if you like the crime shows and the forensics and all that kind of stuff, I think the history of Alcatraz just really intrigues you. The people that came in and out of that facility, and of course the infamous escape that you see. Clint Eastwood portrayed in one of his movies, and it's pretty cool to hear those stories.
Yeah, I mean, me being a criminal justice person, I can't turn that one down. Last year I was in Huntsville, Texas, and actually went to the Huntsville unit, where the prison in Texas where they do the death penalty. So I was able to tour it as well and see some pretty historical landmarks there at Sam Houston University.
Right, and so a lot of these trips that you're making here are because of the kind of the side job. It's I mean you have you're a full-time college professor here during the week, so to speak, but you umpire these baseball games, so I think that's really a full-time job in itself. But you're able to do some of these things and go see some of these places because of the travel that umpiring affords you, and so how were you able to go from coaching? You and I have known each other in the coaching world, so to speak, and you kind of stopped doing that and really put the full basket into umpiring. But how did you get into that? I mean, if there's somebody out there listening that may think, hey, I think I'd really enjoy doing that. How can somebody go about getting into that and then getting to the level at which you are? Because you just don't walk in the door day one and go umpire Duke versus NC State.
Yeah, it was, it's not a overnight journey. And for all those people in Jackson and that type of stuff, you can see that, I started at ground zero. I actually started umpiring baseball with a buddy of mine who said that he needed some high school umpires. And so he knew I'd played college baseball. And so he asked me about, doing some umpiring. And so I went out, worked a few high school games, and then spent a lot of my time actually umpiring out at Sportsplex. And, just kind of worked my way up and continued to get better high school games, and was actually going to work a game with a guy named Brandon Maurer. Actually talked to him this morning. He actually lives out here in North Carolina now, but he was from West Tennessee, and he was a college umpire, and we had worked a few high school games together. And he said, man, have you ever thought about umpiring college baseball? And I said, no, I hadn't. Of course, at this time, I was a police officer, and so I went and worked a summer league game, and the assigner actually, watched me, and that was kind of my foot in the door to college baseball. And, I wasn't able to work the schedule I wanted to because of the time off and that type of stuff going forward, and so obviously left Jackson Police Department, went to Lexington High School, and it kind of opened the avenue just a little bit more. I would try to be at school every day in the fall because I had to take off some Fridays, in the spring, and the administration there at Lexington High School was great, working with me for me to take my time off on Fridays to go, and then continue to work college baseball, and just kind of kept going to camps and kept getting good instruction, that type of stuff, and then had the opportunity to go to a camp that Troy was actually over, and Troy actually saw me. And I'll tell you kind of a funny story with Troy. I'm at this camp, and it was a Saturday morning, and unfortunately one of the guys had got out the night before, and he had drank too much, and he said he couldn't work his plate job the next morning. So there was another instructor that knew me, and he said, hey, why don't we get Tommy back there and you can see him? And so I got back there, and I guess I did pretty good because I was walking off the field, and Troy met me, and welcomed me to his group and, and that type of stuff. And one of the biggest things is he talked about fitness. And so I started with, and I got to give a shout out to my guy, Jonathan Parker at First Step Fitness. I've been with him for probably the last 4 or 5 years, just getting myself the way that I need to look for college baseball, because I'm telling you, if you watch college baseball right now, everybody on the field is fit now. It's crazy, the expectations that we have to have. So Jonathan Parker, First Step Fitness, has been absolutely an intricate part of my journey. And so got picked up by him, worked a couple years in Conference USA and Big South, and there was an opening. There had been a situation, an umpire couldn't make it, so I got sent to Georgia Tech for a non-conference weekend, and went down there and shot like 95 on TrackMan, which obviously you're familiar with TrackMan, but that's our scores, working the plate, balls and strikes, of how many we get right. Actually, the coach for Georgia Tech, Danny Hall, who I'm not sure if you've seen it or not, just announced his retirement after this season, and he actually called Troy and told him how good a job I did, and I got a phone call from Troy and said, welcome to the ACC.
Well, that's awesome. That's awesome. Tommy, how did you I played baseball in high school, and I wasn't a very good hitter. I couldn't pick up the ball off the pitcher's hand very well. How does one train themselves to be able to see that ball coming down? I mean, because in high school you got a lot of kids that are throwing upper 60s, 70s, maybe some low 80s, and then an occasional kid that can actually throw the ball, in the upper 80s or even close to 90. So it's not nearly as difficult to see it in high school. But when you get to college and in the majors, I mean, you got guys that are, slinging that ball, 80 plus, 90 plus miles an hour, maybe even nearing 100. And how does one train? Because you talk about training your body, but how do you train your mind and your eyes to see something like that?
Well, a lot of it is your eyes. Your eyes are like our camera. So think about this: if you're holding a camera, or you're holding your cell phone, taking a picture, and you're walking, it's extremely hard to have a clear picture. So when we're working the plate, one of the biggest things they talk about is non-head movements. So basically, we're just tracking the ball from the pitcher when it releases with our eyes, and doing our best to not move our heads. Now, sometimes I'll move my head if it's way outside, way up, or something of that nature. But we're just using our eyes to track. And, umpiring college baseball is not something that starts February. I think this year was February 14th. It's not something that starts February 14th. We work, 4 to 6 ball games. And then I always, with me teaching at Jackson State, I always reach out to Coach Wenders. If I can come out and work his inner squads before season starts, or obviously my son's at Union, and I go over there and just see pitches, or pitchers are throwing bullpens. You just get back there and you just start getting yourself trained to do it. College baseball is so much different than high school baseball because of the evaluation side of it. TrackMan is a two-edged sword. That technology. I've gotten my TrackMan reports before where it showed like maybe I missed a pitch, but it showed I missed the pitch by like 1.2 inches. So that's how precise.
Oh wow! Okay,
it is.
Yeah.
And so, we're having to go out, and I think that I was on the ACC Zoom, and I remember them talking about the average TrackMan score right now for the ACC umpires is like 94% across the board. So you're looking at umpires getting 94% of pitches correctly.
Wow. Yeah, that's pretty impressive when you think about the potential number of pitches that are thrown. the number of different pitchers that may come in because they have all different body movements, and then all of a sudden you have to find how they throw the ball, sidearm, overarm. Are they bringing a swooping motion when they pitch, or they keep the ball tight to their body? You've got, like you said, you've got to find that ball and then track it all the way in. That's obviously a gift that if these umpires are calling this with almost 95% accuracy, that's crazy. Hey, let me ask you a question about that, TrackMan, because you're very familiar with it. I see it obviously on Major League and college. Sometimes you'll see the strike zone put up there and see that the little white line. It's sometimes not necessarily just a white line, but an opaque line of some sort. How much does the association of umpires take the balls that hit that line, if you call them a strike, or you could call it a ball, but it's on the line? Like how much does that play into it?
Well, so now, if we're going to expand on that just a little bit, but first, hey, I do want to clear up something with you. The K zone that you're seeing on TV, now MLB is a different story, but the K zone that you're seeing on ESPN or something like that for college baseball, they're kind of going away from doing that because that's not the actual TrackMan strike zone.
Right.
That's just something that they're putting up there. Now the MLB, that's a completely different story. They're using basically Hawkeye, like what tennis uses for that. So they can actually, because they've got the ABS challenge system. But with us with college baseball is you're going to see that solid line. And then we actually have, if you look at our TrackMan reports, there's a dotted line, which is 2 inches off of that solid line, that solid box. And that's what we call our buffer zone. So we are not penalized for pitches in the buffer zone. If we strike it, good for us. We got a strike and it does not count against us. Or if we ball it, then it's not counted against our scores. Now we do get a percentage of buffer zone calls. It was crazy. I had Louisville a couple weekends ago work the plate and, did really well, shot like 94 on TrackMan and came out the next day. And third base coach, he was like, man, great job yesterday. He said, man, you were super, super, super consistent. Well, I didn't know kind of what he meant, by the consistent side of it until I got my TrackMan report. Well, unfortunately, I shot 94, but I was 19% in the buffer zone, which meant I balled a bunch of pitches in the buffer zone. But all those pitches that I balled were same location. So basically, you've heard from coaches over the years, we just want you to be consistent.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I was consistent on it, but we really want to try to be between 40 and 60% in the buffer zone, which means we're getting strikes.
Right. But as you said,
you're getting strikes.
As you said, though, that consistency, right? So,
That's
if you're being consistent for both teams, then coaches tend not to squawk so much about that.
Correct. And we know that, there's a rule that states they're not supposed to have TrackMan in the dugout, but I'm sure they're getting some feedback on what we're doing during the games.
Yeah, I think the Patriots weren't supposed to have cameras in other people's stadiums either, were they?
Yeah. And I wanted to add too, for these young umpires that have aspirations of moving up, and I tell people, because I'm fortunate enough to go all over the place and instruct umpire camps, get invited to be an instructor. And, I tell people, there's people in this world that are umpires that are going to be travel ball umpires. Go out and be the best travel ball umpire you can be. And then there's guys that are going to be, maybe the ceiling's high school baseball. And it could be the state tournament, hey, that's something I never did. It was crazy. I guess since I don't work high school baseball anymore, I can say that, I didn't get to work high school baseball because I never went to the state baseball camp because it was the same time that my college baseball camp was. And so I was not allowed by TSSAA to work the state baseball camp. but yeah, I was working, junior college regionals, junior college super regionals, and that type of stuff. And, if you're a high school umpire, that needs to be your goal, is to work the state baseball tournament. And, if that's your ceiling, then great. Go be a great high school umpire.
Yeah.
But for those that want to keep going on, and this is where the dedication comes into that people don't understand. I'm going to camps every year. I think that this past year may have been potentially maybe the last year I've got to go because, I've kind of reached the apex of where I want to be. But for these young umpires, you're going to have to spend some money and go to camps. And if anybody's interested in something like that, to reach out to you, you can get them in touch with me.
Yeah, definitely.
I actually instruct a travel ball high school camp in Murfreesboro every year, first weekend of August. It's a great camp. 2 instructors per about 10 or 12 umpires, so it's really, really, really close knit. There's not 40 umpires with one instructor, so it's very, very close knit. Live games, cage work on the field with us and stuff. It's not very expensive, but it is a 3-day deal. If there's anybody interested in something like that and they're listening, reach out to you and you can put them in touch with me. I do not mind you giving my cell phone number out because I am one of those persons, and Coach, you've known me a long time. I'm one of those that wants to give back. I want other people to be successful in this world. And, I don't know how many years I have left of it, but I want to give back to younger people and help them excel in whatever ceiling of umpiring they want to do.
Right. And we think about that, if we were as coaches and broadcasters and, I spent 26 years coaching a various number of sports. And, there were times that I coached in the state tournament and maybe not in a state championship game for a particular sport. But as older I got, the more I found myself trying to give the younger coaches the chance to be in that spot, to learn I even had an assistant coach one time. I sat down on the bench as the head coach and I let the assistant coach stand in the basketball game and make the calls because it was a one-sided game. We were expected to beat this team by 50 and I'm like, here's an opportunity for a 20-year-old kid to learn and to coach and to make the mistakes and not really feel the pressure of it, And so we want to see the game, obviously, on all aspects, even from the umpires. I don't want the umpires to be the reason the game is out of control or mishandled. So, when I really appreciate you saying that from the umpire standpoint is that, hey, we want to leave the game better than we have it right now when our time is to stop calling.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
And, I can't go without saying, obviously it's public knowledge if you pull it up, the money that we're making at this level is incredible. ACC weekends is $3,600, and man, that's crazy. I think that SEC is about 4,000 right now, but we were told this year 36, next year 39, the next year after that 4,200.
Wow.
So that's incredible side money.
Yeah.
And it's 14 weekends, and now I don't work the ACC all 14, but my checks vary from $1,000 for a weekend up to obviously the Power 4 money.
Right.
So
but you even consider
$1,000
a weekend for 14 weekends, it's 14,000. That's your car payment for the year or half of your house payment for the year or something, that's crazy.
Yeah. And and it's helped my wife, and then I didn't really get to fully answer your question earlier too. But when I switched over to Jackson State, I don't have classes on Thursdays, and then the school doesn't have classes on Friday, so it just I don't have to take off work to do that.
Right.
So I work with great people. I got stuck a couple weeks ago and was able to to get some help to teach like my first class on Monday until I could get there. We had some weather delay issues and stuff like that. So I just work with a great group of people at Jackson State. So, because that's something that I tell people as well, and and I think a lot of times that stops umpires kind of in their quest moving up is, you've got to have the right job for college baseball because you're going to be going. We have to be in town on Thursday night. So I flew out here. I think I landed at 7:30, Thursday night, and then we didn't even play till 8:00 last night. But we have to be in town the day before because of delay situations and stuff like that. So you've got to have a flexible work schedule, to do this, or and I work with one of the guys I'm working with this weekend. He's a middle school teacher, and he coaches some football down in Atlanta. So he works with a good administration. Another guy that I know, same thing. His administration, works with him as well. So it's got to be flexible, and if you can't work the flexible stuff, then maybe you try to quest yourself in Division II,
right.
because they're more of that late Friday night, 2 Saturday type games, and junior college, does the same. So,
right.
But like I tell people, if you're going to be the world needs the baseball world needs JUCO coach umpires, and it needs good JUCO umpires.
Definitely.
And I tell people that, those kids in junior college, my son at Union, they deserve good umpiring. They've worked hard to get to their spot, and there's no reason they can't have the quality of umpiring that Duke University's getting, or Tennessee Vols are getting, and there's no reason why they can't get that quality of umpiring as well.
Right. Yeah, 100%. Hey, I know you have to roll here shortly. You've got a meeting coming up, but I have 2 questions for you, and you can answer them as quick or as long as you want to.
Hey, I just was going to tell you that we ended up doing our Zoom meeting yesterday, so
okay.
I've got time.
Okay, all right. So we'll roll till the next guest comes in, or you've got to go one or the other. No, we'll just we'll get you off here quickly. I know your day is you make plans to do things and rest and whatnot. We do appreciate you calling in this morning, all the way from North Carolina, Duke University, and this is Tommy Separillo. Many of you know him as Coach Sepp around here in our area, but if you're listening or watching this replay later on, he longtime coach and umpire here in the state of Tennessee, and of many sports, baseball and basketball predominantly, I guess. But yeah, we appreciate you calling in this morning. Hey, so when you are assigned a game, we'll just use this weekend. You've got NC State and Duke that you're assigned to. How is the rotation of umpires? Because you're not the plate umpire every game, right? You rotate out. You'll be the field. You'll be the first base. You'll be the second base, third base, whatever. At some point you'll be at the 3 positions on the field. How does that get assigned? And then do you have the option to not be, let's say, a plate umpire?
Well, so all of that comes from the assigner. So obviously it's just like anything else. We have platforms. We have Blue Zebra. We have the Arbiter, which is most of you guys in high school are more familiar with is the Arbiter. And we got Spot Foul and RefQuest. So I work under 4 platforms that has my assigning in it. So different assigners use different platforms to assign us. Once we get the assignment, like this weekend, all Power 4, games are 4 umpires. So this weekend I'm working third last night, second base today, and first base tomorrow.
Okay.
So I don't actually get to work a plate this weekend. And so, but if you are assigned a plate, you're going to work it. You don't. That's not something that you turn back in.
Okay.
So it's the rotation is set in stone, unless there's an injury. So today, I'm working second base. Home plate umpire gets hurt. I'll go put everything on and I'll finish the game for them.
Will you only finish
So-
with 3 if there's an injury? Because
Yeah, we can finish with 3. There's actually a new rule came out a couple of years ago that you can start with 2, 3, or 4, and you can finish with 1 if something happens.
Oh, wow. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, that's interesting. Okay. So, but you don't give up your plate job if that's called, right? You roll your plate job.
Yeah. Used to, 3 people would be assigned to a place, and we'd get there and be like, all right, who wants to work the plate?
Right.
But now it is pre-assigned where you're working.
Right. Now, is that pre-assigned based upon who's throwing, or how is that, or is that just at the discretion of the assigner?
Yeah, just completely discretion of the assigner. Most of the time, the crew chiefs, they're the ones who they're your big dog umpires, and they usually work the plate on Friday night. So, that way they're handling everything else. So they're the ones that are handling going to replay. And I can't remember. I think we had 3 replays last night. He's the one that's handling all that, and then he's the one that communicates with the crew, and he's the one that makes sure travel plans, and he's the one that makes sure hotel rooms are taken care of for everybody.
Okay.
And, that type of stuff.
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah.
So there's some other responsibilities that go along with being that crew chief than just
yes,
calling games.
believe it or not, it's a lot of responsibility. I get to be the crew chief a lot in Conference USA and Big South and SWAC games, and it's a lot. It's a lot more. You're the one in charge of everything. Once those coaches hand you the lineup card, everything's on you now when
Right.
it comes to decision making. So it's
And that includes
it's a lot
safety of
responsibility.
that includes safety of the fans and
Yes.
players too, right? Because once you guys, it's kind of
Yeah,
like
if I don't-
TWA.
if I don't feel like the field's safe enough because of how wet it is, once they hand me the lineup cards, it's on me.
Right.
If we got storms coming in, I'm the one that's going to pull us off the field and get the tarp on the field. So, it's a lot. It's a lot more than people think it is. It's not just going to a locker room and getting dressed and running out there. We started at 8 last night because we had the TV game last night, and, here we are arriving at the locker room at 6:30. An hour and a half before to make sure that everything was right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. All right. So the second question I had is when you who in your career here, what's the big name that you've seen come through college that's made it to Major League Baseball, or maybe a player that you've seen that you thought, man, hey, this young man is legit, and for whatever reason, maybe he never went pro, but what are some of the biggest names you've seen on the diamond since you've been able to umpire college baseball?
Well, first one that comes to mind, Walker Buehler, had him in his come out party. He was actually pitching for Vanderbilt against MTSU at Pringles Park or Ballpark of Jackson.
Oh, wow.
And,
Okay.
it was a midweek game, and he had like 14 strikeouts, and that was his come out party. So I've had Dansby Swanson. I had it was really cool. I had this reminded me too, Big South Series, which a lot of people don't know about the Big South, but that's your High Point, who obviously put Vanderbilt out last year.
Uh-huh.
Your UNC Asheville, your Gardner Webb, Campbell. There for a while, they just left it, and they were always super successful in baseball. But I had Campbell and Gardner Webb, and the shortstop for Campbell was Zach Neto, who's obviously the Anaheim Angels shortstop right now.
Okay.
And then there was another guy, and he was pitching, and I can't remember his first name and last name was Miller. He ended up being maybe the closer for Houston Astros now. So I had both of them playing against each other, in college.
Mm-hmm.
And I worked the plate, game one with Miller pitching, and, he was 94 to 98. So, just it's pretty cool. Walker Janik last year, he was the catcher for Sam Houston. He ended up getting drafted, first-round guy. So, being able to see those guys and then, being able to see them be successful as they move up is pretty cool.
Yeah, it is. It's really neat to watch. I umpired some basketball back in my early years of coaching, just help out and had some players, Darius Miles that played in the NBA for a little while that came through that league in St. Louis and things like that, and just to be able to say, hey, I was in awe of this 10-year-old kid that was out there doing crazy things on the floor while I'm officiating the game, and it's I think it's kind of cool to be able to say that too, that, hey, I umpired this kid before he was big league, so. Hey, Tommy. So today, what is on the schedule? We talked about going out to Stanford, and you're going to have an opportunity to tour Alcatraz there. When an umpire goes out for the weekend, obviously you have to be there a certain time before the game starts. You have your game time, and then you're probably going to grab some food afterwards, or the hospitality room for the umpires, whatever. Maybe the food's provided. But what about the downtime? What do you guys do as umpires when you're on these stints for 3 days?
Well, like yesterday, we ate lunch as a crew, and came back and relaxed. I think all of us took a nap yesterday because, we knew it was going to be a late night. Like, we didn't even walk off the field till 11 o'clock our time. And, yesterday was lunch, and then my afternoon time was, about a 25, 30-minute workout. So I did lift yesterday. I slept in a little bit this morning. Most of the time, my weekends, on Saturday, I work pretty diligently. I bring my computer with me, so as soon as we get off here, I'm going to start grading college assignments, just to keep up with that.
Right.
And, it passes time as well, and then of course we'll have to be at the ballpark today by 1:30, 1:45 for a 3 o'clock start.
Okay.
It's supposed to be beautiful here today. I think 80 degrees, sunny here. So. But, just a lot of time like that spent, I'll usually relax in the hotel room, watch some TV, catch up on emails, work on grading. I think one of the guys this morning went out to run some errands. He asked us if we needed anything. So, and sometimes we met up with the crew last night after our game that's at North Carolina, and one of them had his wife with him. So, there's some wives that go with them on trips to spend some time together.
Right.
So my wife said she's never going to a game again after she went to one and they yelled at me. She didn't like it, so she's not going anymore.
Yeah, she's going to be over there throwing down in the stands. You can't, just don't. She's What about, you talk about coaches' wives and now, officials' wives, the same thing. You and I you've experienced it a lot more than I have. I was a coach for many years and athletic director and principal.
Well, I'll tell you, it takes a special wife to be an umpire's wife or an official's wife.
Yeah.
It's she has responsibilities, especially in the spring because, I got a game every Tuesday. So I usually get up in the mornings and take our kids to school and make sure they're good. And then she has to pick them up because usually, in the fall or up until baseball, I'm picking our girls up every day. So my wife, she does that. And then, now she's got to be a single parent from Thursday night, usually until I get back late Sunday night. So, I started a trend several years ago. I call it locker room love you. So when I'm in the locker room before we head out, I always text my wife, love you, and she replies back just to let her know I'm thinking about her. I'm so appreciative of her because I couldn't do this without her.
Right. Yeah, definitely.
And it's just like coaches' wives. They're that unsung hero. And if you look at a lot of coaches, I watch. You watch college basketball, and you still see Roy Williams in the stands at North Carolina games, and his wife sitting beside him. And that means a lot.
Right. Yeah.
But one thing my wife does, she smiles about it because she doesn't even hardly ask anymore, like, where am I going? She just always says, well, how much do you make this weekend?
So she wants to know what the shopping trip's going to be worth next week and not.
What's that comma check this weekend?
Yeah.
What can we do with that?
Right.
So,
well, nowadays we just pay the increase in gas and grocery bills is what we're doing with it. So it's crazy.
Absolutely.
It's crazy. All right. One last question for you, Tommy, and then we'll start wrapping things up here. Day games or night games? As an umpire behind the plate, what would you prefer? What do most umpires? I'm sure you've had these conversations with other people, maybe.
Like what position on the field do we want to do?
Well, no necessarily. I mean, yeah, it could be either that. But if you're calling balls and strikes, do you think it's easier to call balls and strikes at a night game or a day game?
Hang on, Coach. I'm sorry, you cut out just a little bit. I didn't hear the end of the question.
I said if you're calling balls and strikes, is it easier to call during the day or at night?
Oh, I got you. I don't know if I've ever seen a difference. I know that there was a study a couple years ago that dealt with, like, on sunny days, umpires wearing sunglasses.
Uh-huh.
And that there was a higher percentage of correct calls made for umpires that were wearing sunglasses when the sun was out.
Okay.
But,
all right.
For me, that backdrop, certain schools, that when you go to, you're going to have to really, really, really lock in a little bit more because the hitter's eye, which is, you know what I'm talking about, that large green or black that's behind center field wall.
Uh-huh.
A lot of times, you just see it a little bit better at different ballparks.
Right.
But I don't know if I've ever seen a difference. Obviously, I like to work the Friday plates because then you're done for the weekend.
Okay.
But
okay.
And that's the good thing about being that crew chief is that. But I got to say, I don't hear guys talking about that very often. It's just I think that it just varies on the ballpark that you're at of how well you're seeing.
Okay. All right. It makes sense. And again, each ballpark might have a different shade because of the way they're designed or they're facing the sun. It's like football. If you're at USJ over here in Jackson and you're in the press box and you're there from 3 to 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock, you're going to be baking in the sun because that sun's just smashing you right in the face. But for a player standpoint, you're going north and south, not east and west. So, you maybe see the field just a little bit better because you don't have that sun glare in your eyes. So interesting. Tommy, what's on the menu for the umpires today?
Yeah, Coach, I can't hardly hear you again.
What's on the menu for the umpires today?
Oh, probably fixing to grab some lunch. I think there's a Chick-fil-A right across from the hotel. Grab that. And, we'll probably head to the ballpark about 1:30. And 3 o'clock start. I think our game is not on the ACC network like last night was, but it's on the ACC network plus. And so I'll be at second base tonight or this afternoon, and we'll get done, and then we'll probably all watch basketball as a crew together.
There you go. Watch some Elite Eight action. Tennessee boys and girls advancing, and men and women.
Yep.
So congratulations to that program. And Tommy, thanks for calling in today.
Coach, as always, man, I really appreciate you having me. What you're doing is great, and I'm always appreciative of you having me, but I'm more appreciative of your friendship.
Yeah, man, great friend and brother in Christ. And man, I appreciate you and your testimony and your how you continue to pour into lives now, kind of in the umpiring and college world full time, but many years that you spent in the high school and umpiring and coaching and teaching, man. I really appreciate you as well. And so have a great weekend. Be safe coming back, and we'll catch you on the next show sometime.
Awesome. Thanks,
Tommy
Coach.
Ciparillo from Duke University, North Carolina, and great friend there, and I really appreciate. We're going to step away for a quick timeout here, just a 1-minute timeout, and when we come back, Coach Mitchell in the house. We're going to have Coach Mitchell of Northside High School. We're going to talk more flag football. Yes, sir, flag football in the spring. If you didn't catch the string, go back and rewatch it. Northside versus ECH. Northside put a whooping on ECH. Misdirection, this and that. I mean, they could have had 10 more interceptions if they wanted to. But it was a fabulous game. We're going to have at least Coach Mitchell in, maybe even as well Coach Wilson stopping by if he can make it over before his meeting. But nonetheless, we'll step away for a quick 1-minute break. I'm going to get the rule book out because I found out some things yesterday I didn't even know when I'm calling the game, and I got to work up my terminology, that's for sure. We'll be right back. Don't go away, folks. What's up, dog?
Eyes forward. Don't drive distracted.
Emma, did you hear?
Todd's in the hospital.
Who's Todd?
He got a collapsed lung from vaping.
He thought it was cool.
Not cool.
Promise you won't vape, Emma.
It can lead to a lifelong addiction, and we can't be friends if your lungs collapse.
Bogus.
Wacky sitcom teens aren't the best people to talk to your kid about vaping.
Hey, you got a minute?
You are. Start the conversation with your child about vaping today.
All right, welcome back. Sports Talk Live with the coach. That's me, Coach T. Stratton, live on location at Caddy's Sports Club right here in Jackson, Tennessee, the world-class indoor driving range and every golf course you want to play in the world facility. I mean, I say that loosely because they're not all here, but there's definitely plenty of courses for you to play if you want to get over here. If you are an avid golfer and you're not a member, definitely make sure that you check the website so that you can find out if they are completely booked. Daniel Fry just walked in the house, and owner and operator here at Caddy's, and but make sure you check the website, call up here, and ask for reservations because you don't want to miss out on your tee time if you are if you're an avid golfer or not an avid golfer. What you don't want to do is get to a course and find out you can't play, and that's the same thing here. So while you can stick around for lunch or this and that, you definitely don't want to get over here and not be able to play. So make sure that you check out reservations before you get here. And my arm here is not staying. All right, there we go. We got Coach Z watching this morning. I think Coach Z is out and about in America somewhere.
Probably Dixon.
Dixon, yeah.
She likes to go see her family.
Right. Well, I think she said, and this is weird to me, and Coach Z, please don't take offense to this. I don't mean weird in a bad way, but you typically don't hear this type weird. I think she said her brother child it's their birthday today, and then their sister's child birthday as well. And so to have two siblings that have children born on the same day, you just don't hear that, right?
That would be an oddity.
An oddity, yeah. Not weird, but an oddity, yeah, right? So they're going to celebrate birthdays today.
All right, good deal.
So make that. Coach, man, you were at a track meet.
Had track meet Thursday.
Thursday, so you missed the game. You got to rewatch the.
I watched as much as I could live, but with track, it's kind of busy. You can't watch all of it, but
Yeah.
It's just good to be able to see it and know that it's being watched. So that,
Right.
that people that maybe parents got to work or just somebody's curious about it. They're scrolling through YouTube. What's this? And here we go. We got flag football on. So good to know.
Yeah, and it's obviously one of the things that here at Sports Talk Live and the Hub City Sports Network, we want to make sure our kids get promoted. And
Right.
so this new sport out, and we'll be making some changes, and I'm sure other programs that do streaming will get on board with this too. But I mean, I really enjoyed seeing this edition, and I wish we were able to do. A track would be almost impossible. You'd have to have 40 camera guys out there in 40 different areas, and you'd never be able to see the one event alive because you can only have really one camera going
Right.
at a time.
I mean, unless you are truly a professional
Yeah.
organization.
Right.
NCAA does a pretty good job, and I say pretty good because there's
Yeah.
times where their coverage to me is lacking. Same thing in the Olympics, World Championships, stuff like that. It's tough, like you said. I mean, there's everything going on at all the time.
Yeah, it's and I was watching some hockey last night. Had in the man cave, and I think you've been there at the home studio. I've got 4 or 5 TVs rolling, and I've got basketball on this one and hockey on this one, and pickleball over here on the small one because it's not quite.
UFL football last night.
Did not watch any UFL football last night because my wife surprised me with a Block City pizza.
Okay.
And Block City Pizza for West Tennessee is one of the betters, right? So she came home and she had a bacon and sausage large Block City pizza, and I almost threw up last night. It was so good. I just about ate all of it. I don't know how many pieces were in that box. It was more than 8. And I ate more than 8. And luckily that they're just cut differently. They're
Right.
just cut smaller. But I ate probably close to 3/4 of it, I would imagine. And since losing 102 pounds officially now in my
Congratulations.
weight loss, thank you, journey, I have not eaten pizza like that. But I probably won't get Block City Pizza again for another 6 months. So I smashed it.
There you go.
It was fabulous. But yeah, so thinking about these sports and whatnot, we definitely want to make sure that our kids are promoted. And this new edition of flag football, I've been watching this on ESPN. I've been watching it. A lot of colleges have it at club, and I eventually think this will become just another girls' sport at every level, right?
I agree.
And so, and then I also want to. You're a football guy, obviously, as well. So before we get out of here today, I do have an NCAA men's football question
Okay.
for you, but we'll stick with our flag football talk first. But so yeah, I do think that it will become it's already an Olympic sport. It's,
Right.
So it's just a matter of time that this makes its way into the college ranks and officially probably a sanctioned high school sport all across
I've heard
America.
rumblings of the SEC is started
Yeah.
talking about flag football for the girls. So if they're talking about it, it will happen.
Yeah.
Between the SEC and the Big Ten,
Yeah.
it'll happen.
Right.
And then everybody else will either get on board early or they'll be sucking wind. And
Right.
another thing to complain about that so-and-so is better at.
Yeah. Yeah. If you don't
start
get-
early
right.
or
Yeah.
be behind.
We were just talking with Tommy Separillo, who's out at Duke right now, umpiring Duke and NC State baseball. And, when he started at some of these smaller Conference USA type levels and AAC levels and things like that. But once we get to the tournament, the college baseball tournament, it's much like we used, not necessarily this year, but we've seen in NCAA March Madness before. There's always one of these small schools that started early, built a reputation for themselves, and then they go upset a big dog on the big stage. And I mean, it's awesome to see.
Wasn't that long ago, Coastal Carolina won the whole thing, and
Yeah.
I mean, I you look back at it, they didn't come out of nowhere
Right.
per se, but to a lot of people, they're like, "Who the heck is this? The Chanticleer? What is a And it just it was a good thing for baseball as
Right.
a whole, But you're right. This year's basketball, I was looking at this morning, it's, pretty much chalk, 1s and 2s.
Yeah.
I think St. John's the only 2 seed not there, so you had the Texas Tech 3 seed. But it's good when those non-big schools, I guess, the non-blue bloods or however you want to call it, are going deep, doing things differently.
Yeah.
Tournaments like that allow it to happen.
Right.
Not saying bad about college football, but it's good to see the NCAA tournaments, basketball, baseball, softball happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
And I think as we think about football, tackle football, I think there potentially needs to be 2 tournaments for that because, in my opinion, in a quarter can't buy bubble gum.
At
But
the top end, yes.
but, yeah.
Because there are the Division II, they do a tournament,
Right.
Division III tournament.
Yeah.
The whatever we want to call, I still call it Division I AA with the North Dakota states. They have a tournament.
yeah,
But when you want to classify the haves and have-nots at one level,
yeah,
you're really you're taking away basically half of those teams from being able to win a
right,
championship.
yeah,
So
definitely. And
it'll
basketball's
change.
different.
At some point.
but-
We're right,
yeah.
yeah, and it's a different game.
Yeah.
Nothing against basketball, but you can have 2 or 3 really good players, and the rest of your bench being support.
Right.
Football, when you have 60 really good players, it's hard for 10 people to beat you.
Yeah, 100%. All right, let's get into this topic of flag football. I just kind of in the last 2 broadcasts, the Jamboree in the first game of the season for Northside. I've referred to it as tackle football and girls flag, or boys tackle football and girls flag football. It's really just tackle football and flag football.
Correct.
And so at least in Tennessee, girls play flag football and boys play tackle football. However, girls can play tackle football. But right now, boys cannot
Boys
play
are not
flag.
playing flag football.
Right. So it is.
And
what
of
it
course, as much as I want girls to want to play football, at some point there is a physical difference. And,
There is.
And we have to think about safety.
Mm-hmm.
It is about safety at the end of the day. And I want girls to feel safe if they are playing tackle football.
Yeah.
And at some point, if you have a 300-pound athletic young man trying to hit even a 200-pound young woman, it's not fair.
Yeah.
In the sense of athleticism and physicality.
Right.
So that's kind of where I feel like that line gets drawn, and now we go, okay, well, now we have flag football, but it still does eliminate a small portion of the young ladies that might want to play football.
Right.
So I don't know, I'm just
Well,
throwing out
it's just
a thought
right,
process.
and it's just starting. So the conversations on how it morphs and what it morphs into, obviously,
Right.
will be continued to be had, and we'll see how it goes. But for right now, I'm just happy that we've got something.
There
right?
is a sport that girls
Yeah.
are playing that is football.
Yeah, definitely.
That's what matters.
So in the Jamboree, I'm going to throw the rule book out because there was so much learning still going on. I'm not sure that there was a play clock in the Jamboree, but there definitely was a play clock in week 1. The official, just the back official, which is behind the quarterback,
Right.
calling out a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 count, counting down the delay of game clock so that the players can hear it. So I definitely heard that on the field this time around that I didn't hear in the Jamboree. Something that I learned even after calling that game last Thursday on Friday, I learned about the actual how to gain a first down. Reading the 16-page rule book that I have right here in my hand, I just guess I hadn't really, maybe I read it and didn't process it, but
It's just yard marker.
right. So, but it's completely odd or weird in the fact that when you start the game out, you start the game from the 14-yard
14.
line. There is an end zone line. There's a 20-yard line. There's the midfield, which is actually 40. Then the opposite 20 and then the opposite end zone. Right. That's how the field's laid out. So you start the ball or the initial drive.
There's 3 hashes technically. There's the extra point at the 3-yard
Okay, right.
The hash at the 10 for the 2-point conversion.
Okay.
And then the hash at the 14 for start of game, start of half, and after score, after touchdown.
Okay, right. So that the ensuing kickoff.
Right. That's
Okay.
really the only extra yard lines.
Okay.
And then, of course, there should be some form of hash mark. I think we only put them on the 20, 40, and 20.
Right.
But there is a marker for where the middle of the field roughly is.
Okay. All right. Very cool. So you start the game on the 14, and you only have to get 6 yards to get your first initial first down,
Correct.
which is not tackle football, right? We think of tackle football first and 10,
ready to go.
second and 8, whatever. You got to get to that. You got to get that 10 yards,
Right.
no matter where the 10 yards is at. Because if you put it in tackle football, it would actually be on the 24, right?
Correct.
But you have to get to the 20-yard line, which is a 6-yard gain. After that, you got 4 downs to get to the 40. You have to get to the next official line marker on the field to get
Right.
a first down. So unlike tackle football, which is first and 10, from the 20, which would mean you go to the 30, or from the 21, you would go to the 31, right? You have to get to that next line, which would be the 40-yard line or midfield. So you have 4 downs to get to that point. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right. So if, and I'm not sure that I had this conversation, and if I did, I've already forgotten it. So if you start the game out and you get your first down, and let's say you make it to the 25. Okay. Which is not officially the 25, but halfway between, where
I mean,
you can kind of see the marks.
If we're doing stats, it's the
Right.
25 because
So-
that's a 9-yard or
Right.
11-yard gain.
Yeah. So
excuse
you
me.
gain, you
Got
gain 11 yards.
yards. It's now first and to the 40, which
Right.
would officially be 15. But
First and 15, right?
I'm not worried about it.
Right. So how does that, because to me, if it's first and 10, that's different than the penalty I just got for a false start now being first and 15, right? I just replayed the down with the 5-yard loss.
Right.
It's a different play in my mindset. So how did that, when you guys were gearing up this season and learning these rules, coming up with plays, because I've got a play in my playbook for first and 10, I've got a play for first and 15, I got a play for first and 25. Heck,
Right.
But I mean, it could be first and 20 because you could be right at the 20-yard line, and you got to get to the 40. How does that differ for coaches in this game versus trying to coach for traditional football or tackle football?
For the most part, we're more looking at it is in the sense of down, right? If it's first down, we're trying to get a positive gain.
Okay.
Right? We're not
Makes
worried
sense.
about it being first and 20 versus first and 15 or even first and 10. We just want to get a positive gain.
Okay.
Because then that can help us determine what do we want to do next, right? The main thing realistically is getting positive yards. Some of the worst things that can happen really would be like the dropped exchange between quarterback and running back, or quarterback and whoever they're giving it to for the run, or even just dropping the snap, right? Because that's just an automatic down ball. It's dead. A fumble is essentially just like taking a knee, right?
Okay.
It
Right.
is if it's first and 15 right there on the 25, if we want to go by numbers, and you fumble the snap from 5 yards back, you're now second down on the 20 going to the 40, but we now have further distance on second down. We're not necessarily thinking in terms of regular tackle football, like, I got this play set up for first down, but this one is first and 15. Like you said, it doesn't truly change for us in that thought process, because at the end of the day, it could be that we gained all the way to what would be the 35, and it's first and 5 yards to get to
Right.
the next one.
Right.
Well, then it's kind of like, okay, what can we do not to just get that first down, but now it's almost like, can we help ourselves out with the next set of first down, right? Because we don't want to just get the first down to be first and 20. We kind of want to help us out with maybe a first and 15 in those aspects.
Right.
So it is a different thought process, but at the same time, it's more of get positive yards and don't get negative yards.
Okay. All right. Makes sense.
If we throw the ball and it's an incomplete, that's fine. That's, I say fine just in the sense of it's not negative.
Right.
It's not a turnover. It's not negative yardage, and we can just move on with life.
Right. So, going through the Jamboree, you were there. You missed this past game because you had a track meet. the play calling looked to open up in this game. Obviously, more practice, another week of practice time, and just more experience for the girls. They saw the game. They maybe watched a little bit of film and said, okay, now we see what we're really supposed to be doing, and we see the defense out there, and which they had never done before. So that was kind of going in blindly. How has the game somewhat changed for the coaches and players moving into the season after that first initial jamboree?
I would say the biggest thing for them is their comfort level.
Okay, yeah,
Right?
makes sense.
Not necessarily the experience, not even watching the film or playing. I guess all of that combined, just being more comfortable playing football.
Right.
Right. Because a lot of them, they're very athletic. They play sports. They probably played some form of football with some, boyfriends or family or something. But just having the ability that they're the ones throwing the ball, catching the ball, running the ball, making the, I want to say tackle, but making the play to stop the offense, right? They're on defense. They're pulling the flag. They're getting them down. They get comfortable. They get that want to be better,
Right.
And they do see the practice going into the game. When they watch film, they see it, and it correlates 1-to-1. So when that happens, to me, it's just that it's an overall comfort level. They feel comfortable that what they're doing is correct, what they're doing is working, and they're happy with it.
Yeah, definitely. Coach, and we got Coach Wilson. Come on in, Coach Wilson. Just showed up. We'll get Coach in here. Give you that mic there. You're a little further back there.
Coach?
Coach Wilson, Early College High School head girls flag football coach.
Yes, sir.
Good morning, Coach. How you doing?
Doing pretty good. How about yourself?
Doing well. Sitting here talking with Coach Mitchell. We're just going to make sure we got a good level on you here. Okay. All right. And so you guys played this past week. We were able to stream that on the Hub City Sports Network, and we're just kind of going over things. You guys also played in the Jamboree, and the question I just asked Coach is just, the comfortability or what has changed after that Jamboree now for the coaches and the players. What do you think about your team? What Coach mentioned just comfortability of the girls being on the field, be able to see what they're doing and what the expectations are. But what about Early College High?
For us, we're still in the learning phase. We haven't really had that many practices, to be honest, but they are adjusting well. They're learning how to play multiple positions and not necessarily just focus and fixate on one specifically, which is good because they're all going to have to be flexible and play both sides of the ball. But it's a learning process. So every opportunity that we get out there, whether it's practice or a game, it's a chance to learn. It's a chance to grow.
Right. Yeah, most definitely. And you guys got a big roster. Both of these teams have big rosters. And so when you think about that, I think I saw Northside really two platooning it. Is that how you guys are going to approach it? And the season obviously is young, so it's like, hey, we don't know if we'll be doing next year what we're doing this year because it's so new of a learning curve, right? I'm still trying to just learn the basic rules of the game, much less anything else. But talk to us about that, and you both can address that question.
Well, for us, we have a little luxury of we don't really have a lot of seniors on the team. A lot of them are freshmen, sophomores, and juniors. So we'll have people we're putting the system in place. We're laying a foundation that can last for years to come. So it's a blessing to have that, as opposed to just it being all seniors where everything's going to be a hard reset the following year. So we have people that can lay that foundation now for those that come in, and we're blessed to have that opportunity to have that.
I would say for us, two platooning it, obviously more of them get to play, and you can reduce their need to learn everything immediately, right?
Right.
I would say during tryouts, we kind of identified some that are probably better at offense versus probably better at defense, and then you can kind of highlight that. And of course, if you have those students that want to play both ways, then you can have the ability to let them dabble both ways. I'm always a fan of having that reverse day, even in tackle football. It's like, all right, offense play defense, defense play offense, and some of our guys already do, but just go out and have fun. It doesn't have to be organized, but it does help the coaches, because then I'm a fan of, hey, coaches, go coach your guys, but on defense, or go coach your guys on offense, and just, let it be fun for them.
Yeah.
So that's, again, to me, that's the main thing, is that comfort and that fun. Like, they're having fun playing a sport that is theirs. Football is no longer just for the boys, quote, in that sense. It is now, flag football is their sport. They're the ones that are, bringing it up, introducing it to everybody, and they're the ones that are out having fun and playing the sport.
Yeah.
So anytime that we can get more people involved, whether it's tackle or flag football, I'm a fan in general.
Yeah.
Obviously, I want the best ones out there. I want to win, but at the same time, I don't want to limit children in any sense that, hey, you can't do this because X, Y, or Z.
Right.
So I think that's one of the things that's helped us in general, and I feel like you're pretty much in the same boat, is just letting them play. Letting them play.
And I would even go just a little step further to add on to that, as far as the girls, at least right now at ECH, like they're pretty passionate about this. Like this is not just because it's, flag and it's for them, but this is the school's first ever standalone sport.
Right.
So they're taking a lot of pride in that, and they're very passionate about how they're going about this. And it's exciting to see their level of commitment to it, and how much this drives them to be just better young women, but as well as just like setting a standard and a culture for the school itself. And it's something that they get to carve out, and I just I get to sit back and watch from the side.
Yeah. Yeah, I notice, in our, I'm at Northside, so in our hallways, in the spring, there's not as much bouncing around. There's not as much talk about sports, because not everybody is a track star, and you really have to hone your skill to be fast, right? So not everybody's going to go out there and be able to compete in the 100 and the 200 and these relays, or throw a discus or a shot put, whatever. I think some girl in college just threw a discus the other day, 66 meters.
There's no telling.
I was like, holy cow,
it gets ridiculous.
So you kind of have a very small, limited pool, but I'm looking at the numbers on both of these teams. You guys showed up with 40 girls, which is awesome. To see, but our girls in the hallway are bouncing around about it. They're talking about it. They're like, it's almost like the guys in the fall, right? Oh, did you see that catch I made? Or, oh, did you see that, that deflection? Or, that girl, she made that spin move, and I snatched that flag, and instead of making that tackle, and that's something for me I got to get used to. I got to find out what the terminology is for the taking of a flag and calling a play dead, and use it, because I've said, take him to the ground. I said deflag. I don't know what I said out there, but it's crazy. So do you feel that that's the same way for early college high, that these girls are so? I mean, this sport is kind of setting that culture within the building as well.
Well, yeah, it's something that, like I said before, like it's something it's theirs alone, and they take pride in this. A lot of them cheerlead, and they come to the football games and watch the guys, and they have that passion for it, and it's great to see that get reciprocated. There's a lot of football guys that came out and cheered them on and supported them, so it's good for them to see that and feel appreciated in the work that they're doing. And there's some that, even where at practice, they're cheering them on from the side and encouraging them to do better and to keep pushing when there's times they make mistakes, and understand that's the nature of the game, and that's something that they're learning. And that they can respond well from it.
Yeah. So what about, and both of you, or if you can answer this or whatever, but what about these rules moving forward? Because I was having a hard time as a broadcaster, and again, it's new, right? It's so new. Mm-hmm. But moving forward, the fan, like how do we get the fan to understand? Because I don't know when it's a loss of down and like on a penalty, when it's 5 yards and a loss of down, or is it just a loss of down, or is it just 5 yards? And I can only imagine. I coached football for a lot of years, 26 years probably or more, and played it for many more than that. I was like, it's not that confusing, right? But this seems to be somewhat confusing, at least to me. And maybe because it's new. I don't, you know.
I would say it's probably mostly because it's new, and the penalties are not necessarily clear cut.
Okay.
Right, unless you know what you're looking for. Not gonna lie, when I was watching the broadcast, I was yelling. I was like, "That is an illegal block." I think it was a couple times your girl said, and it wasn't. They're just doing what they naturally would
Right.
do, is just moving in the way.
Yeah.
And the rule book says we can. And I'm sure we did it too, right? I just it stood out to me because I was like, that should be a penalty.
Yeah.
And how are we going to address that moving forward, right? Because
Yeah.
if you do it, then we do it, and then everybody's doing it, and it never gets called. Then somebody goes to the state tournament, and it's getting called every time.
Exactly.
That's a big problem, right?
Right.
You know, so it's just certain things got to. And again, it's the officials it's new to them, right? But something like that to me is one of those things that definitely has to be addressed on all ends. But for the fan, like you asked, they're not necessarily going to know that that's a rule where you can't move
Right.
and quote block.
So do we have flags?
Now-
Does the officials have flags?
I was told the officials were supposed to have flags. That's what they said in that meeting a couple weeks ago, is there are flags. Now, I don't remember seeing a flag, but it could
Right.
have been between the broadcasts and our grass is, in its winter hibernation mode.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not
I
sure.
might not have seen them.
Yeah.
But I know there was a couple things they walked off. I know there was a
Right.
couple of I did see the penalty walked off on us for sure on an illegal rush of the quarterback.
Right.
The girl was not 5 yards. She came in. There was a couple more that we had that probably should have been called that weren't.
Yeah.
I think there was one false start, or maybe not everybody set penalty that they walked off on you guys.
Yeah, we also had a flag guarding when they got
The
they
flag
got called
guard. Okay.
back.
And I didn't necessarily see it. And again, part of it was as I was watching it, I'm, just looking for certain things from our girls, but I didn't see any hand signals from the officials.
Right.
Either.
Yeah. I never
Right.
saw any of that because
You know,
I had
so
my
that-
book open.
Right.
I had it open to that page.
could
right
also
there.
be something where the more it happens and you have somebody knowledgeable. Now, I mean, I would love for our officials to be able to link into the PA system and tell what's going on.
Right.
But will that happen?
Yeah.
I don't know. Right. So I don't know the actual answer to all that said. I don't know the actual answer to that unless you just give them a handbook and say, hey, here's the rules and here's the penalties, and see if
Good luck.
you keep up.
Yeah, I would feel like to go along with that. I think that right now, just because everything it's new, it's fluid, it's a little bit chaotic to say the least. But like hooking up to a PA system, I think that's a great way. If you're talking about like the common fan that's just watching it and is kind of on the outside and doesn't really know, like that's a great way to communicate. Like, hey, they're penalized for this. This is what this hand gesture looks like. They understand that. They connect to that, because there's not really, unless you're at the door just handing everyone a flyer of here's the penalties, here's what these look like.
Right,
Like,
right.
There's no way for them to truly know.
Yeah, I got a text, and one of the reasons I brought that up today is I got a text in the middle of the broadcast yesterday that said on my personal phone, it wasn't on the stream, but it said, "Hey, they walked off a penalty. What was the penalty for?" And I said, "I don't know."
I mean,
And it could have been, and I think it was actually on ECH at one point. It was in the second half, and I don't know if it was a delay game, because I did hear the official calling that out this time that I didn't hear in the Jamboree, or if it might have been on that flag guarding,
that
or
probably was the flag guarding
of
one,
some
if I'm
point.
being
But you had
honest.
two penalties. They walked off kind of close, not back to back, but within maybe a 2 or 3 minute period of each other. And they were like, "Hey, that's we just saw that. What's the penalty?" And I'm like, "I don't know." So I just think moving forward, obviously, with football, when you throw the flag, there's a penalty that's going to be called. Now, whether if you hear or see the official because you're chewing on your nachos and not paying attention, but you see the flag, that tells us that there's something that's there, right?
And
so
everybody knows what this means,
Yes.
or what this is,
Right.
or, so they know those hand signals. And the hand signals generally are similar
Right.
for
Yeah.
similar
Yeah.
type penalties.
yeah,
But like you said, then is that a loss of down? Is it a replay the down?
right.
Right, and that's the big one that even me, I've looked at it. I still don't remember exactly which one is and isn't. But
Yeah, because in football, in tackle football, there's only, and I may be wrong on this, but there's only one play that's a loss of down, and that's intentional grounding on the offense. It's
I believe in a illegal forward pass, also a loss of down.
It might be, but how many times do we ever see that? I guess maybe.
That's
I mean,
why even I'm questioning that.
right.
Like, is it or
so,
isn't it?
but here in flag football for the girls,
Almost.
there's a myriad of them that could be a loss of down and a yard penalty.
And I think that might go back to what we were talking about earlier. That would be more. You could almost just say go back to the spot and lose the down. That's almost more of a penalty than it is a 5-yard loss.
Right.
Because, like I said, what is 1st and 15 versus 1st and 20 in flag football? Well,
Yeah.
nothing really. But 1st and 20 versus 2nd and 20 is a bigger deal.
Yeah.
And I was even saying, because we even discussed in the meeting, and there's some scenarios that come a little bit far-fetched where even though the penalty is meant to benefit me, I could end up having to start at the 1 as opposed to starting at the 14, even though the penalty was really supposed to be my benefit, but it didn't.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things about it that just it still needs to be flushed out and kind of clarified, because it's just there's some gray areas, and some of it is like, how does this fall into that category but not that category?
Right.
So it's just one of those things. Like it just takes a little bit of time, but I mean, hopefully sooner rather than later is the hope.
Yeah, and I'm glad that we're still in the emerging stage of this sport, because even though there's going to be somebody go to the middle of the state and play a invitational whatever game they're going to have at the end of the season, that they're not going to call a championship, but for this year, those teams over there have been doing this and maybe even have had 2 years, because maybe they knew it was going to be put in. They've started practicing the year before, so they're really on year 3 in this, and you guys are so behind the 8 ball, so to speak, behind the timeline of trying to get this instituted. Because I can guarantee you the schools that are over there on the east side of the state that are going to be in this championship potential playoff here, they're going to know the rules, and their girls are going to be well versed on that. And hopefully our girls in this short period of time will catch up and be able to understand that. But wow, I mean, could you think if this was really for all the marbles and a state championship, and they had 2 years to prepare and you guys didn't? That'd be.
And I'm not sure how much East Tennessee it was, but I know it was a lot of Davidson and Williamson County,
Right.
So a lot of Nashville.
Yeah, a lot of
And
Nashville.
I know it bled over into East Tennessee, but I know the numbers that were given to us for 2 years ago, she didn't give us any numbers, but I know Davidson and Williamson did. But last year she said there was about 32, I think was the number she said, but we'll just say 30 teams that participated. And this year there's about 150 teams participating.
Oh, that's awesome, though.
So that's 5x growth.
Yeah.
That should get us out of emerging sport.
Right.
Even more growth is great, but I think that's going to get us out of emerging sport, make it sanctioned. I think that's going to get us to a state championship, not invitational.
Right.
But that's my speculation.
Yeah.
I just, being the math person, I'm like, well, if there's only 440 schools, we can't even have a 3x growth again if we go from 150 to everybody. So,
Yeah.
what do you got to do to consider substantial growth in a
Right.
sport if you
Yeah, I mean, you
5X
can just
it
say
year
another
over year?
10%. If you had another 25 teams or so
Right.
that added each year, because at some point you've got co-ops, right? So early college high normally would co-op with JCM, or is even co-opted with others like Madison, and JCM co-op for a while, and still potentially do in some sports. So you may have some schools that never potentially have this, that may co-op with another school to make their teams possible, right? Coach, I asked this earlier of Coach Mitchell here, but from the coaching side, how have you approached this, knowing that from a football background that I just started out, it's first down from the 14 because my kickoff, that's where I spot the ball. It's 1st and 6, but the next one I get, if I stop at the 20, it'll be 1st and 20 instead of 1st and 10. How do you guys approach that in play calling?
Well, for us, I mean, it just kind of comes with where honestly we as a team feel. There's times where you play it safe, you get the short yards real quick, and then we go from there. And then there's moments where we feel like if we can take the shot, we're going to take the shot. But there is comfort in knowing that first down it's so short, so we don't necessarily need to do that.
Yeah.
But then once you pass that, now it's like, okay, we really got to think, because getting 4 or 5 yards in regular football is a gift, but in this, it's not as much as a gift.
Right.
So it for us, it's the flow of the game and what we feel like, what the defense is giving us. Can we do this or can we do that? That's our best way to approach that.
Right. So do you think, and for both of you, do you think it's a mindset of, I got the ball 1st and 6 from the 14, I really need to I need to pick up 10 or more yards on this first down right here, so that my second first down will not be 1 and 20. It'll be 1 and 15 or 1 and 12, or, you know, a shorter manageable position.
I mean, it's really, at some point, I want that first down. You know, if I want to, you know, thinking in terms of, if I want to take a shot, that first down at 1st and 6 might be the time to take the shot.
Right.
And then I have 2nd, 3rd down, just to
To
get
pick up the
first.
short yardage, right? Because you're already in that short yardage situation.
In the
Yeah.
ideal situation, yes, I don't necessarily want just the yard to gain. Now, if it's 4th down, I'll take it by
Right.
the millimeter.
Yeah.
But if it's you know, 2nd down and I can try to get, you know, of course that's the coach speak. For
Yeah.
the girls, please just gain positive yards. If you get the first down, because, you know, and we could have said step out of bounds at the 19 instead
Right.
of getting the 20, but at the same time, what if 3rd down and 1 turns into 4th and 6 because we fumble the snap with
Yeah.
just 5 yards deep? You know, so you know, we can sit here and I say that lovingly, we can sit here and analyze that, but at the end of the day, I just want the first down. I
Right.
want the positive yards. I want us to move forward anytime.
Yeah.
You know, but yes, ideally, I would love for it to be 1st and 15, 1st and 12 over the 1st and 20. But like I said, I want the positive yards no matter what. Now, like I said, an incomplete pass to me is just okay. We knew that was a possibility, but it's not a negative yardage.
Right.
So,
What about for you guys?
I definitely agree with the same sentiment on that. I mean, after a while, you get to almost splitting hairs, but I mean, the goal for us is to move forward. That's what we want to do. We want to keep moving forward, because in reality, I mean, if we're going backwards, yes, it's a negative play, but we're also making it that much harder on ourselves. We're making our play calls now that much thinner, because we can only go with so many options at that point.
Uh-huh.
So for us, you know, our goal is to get what we can. So if it is that immediate 6, or if it's 15 or 20, that's great. But moving forward, that's what we want to do.
Right. Yeah, definitely. So how do you all, or what is going to be the approach? Because so far I've seen maybe a 10-yard pass down the field, maybe a little more than that, maybe a 15-yard pass. But I watched this sport on ESPN, and I'm seeing these girls chuck these balls 40, 50 yards. So how do we, because this is a different motion for our girls, right? They've never been, softball is an all underhand thing, except for just throwing the ball. If you're a pitcher, it's an underhand thing. You know, basketball is more of a set shot. You're getting the hand deep inside. So here's really a different throwing motion for these quarterbacks. What is the development of quarterbacks for girls going to be like?
Now let's be honest real fast. The ones you're talking about on ESPN, they're probably from Florida, Texas, maybe Alabama or California, and they've been playing flag as a youth sport,
Right.
religiously.
Yeah.
You know, and that's kind of what I see for this area, for the young ladies that are growing up, and they're going, okay, now there's a reason for me to learn how to throw a football.
Yeah.
They're talking about, you know, adding the verbiage of women's football to that youth football size.
Right.
You know, so now we're not just saying it's youth football, but this is the women's football. This is the one that we're gonna actually use. So you're gonna see these young ladies growing up playing catch with a football, not a softball, not a baseball, but they're gonna have that football. They're gonna learn to throw it better. They're gonna learn to catch it better. And then we're going to see that similar talent. So I'm not sure right now if it's necessarily a development thing. Yes, we can teach them certain things, but it's going to come from that young group of children that are growing up now and seeing a reason to play football.
Yeah.
Right.
So, Coach, do you think that's something that maybe conversation with the school system that we may see? You know, like now we have elementary basketball, right? So, do you think this is something that we may see from the school system?
Well, I mean, that's something I definitely would hope. I think it does. Like, even for like just guys, like throwing the football is not as easy as a lot of people would think. Otherwise, everybody's a quarterback.
At least correctly.
Yeah, I mean, otherwise
fundamentally, right?
Like we'd have
Every
a ton.
lineman is a quarterback.
Yeah.
Don't you worry.
So, I mean, with that, I mean, yes, if they start early, that's great. I've also, and I've shared it with a lot of our girls, a lot of like the state championship games from teams from Georgia and things of that nature, and some of what I've seen too. Yes, these girls have had development and had time, but some of it is really just some of the offense. I mean, I've seen some teams where they have 3 girls blocking and it's only 1 girl rushing, so they're giving that girl time to sit and really see and take those long throws. Where, you know, for some of us, just because all this is new, it's quick, immediate, short passes.
Yeah.
And some of that's just because we're not adapted to 1 person rushing or 2 people rushing, and we're still figuring it out. But when I mean, I've seen those, like, I've seen teams where they're only sending 2 or 3 receivers, and that's it. And they're still getting those deep balls because their quarterbacks have had time to really sit, plant themselves, be calm in the pocket, and have some form of a presence and throw, as opposed to feeling rushed and manic and feeling like they have to make 10,000 decisions when they only need to make 1.
Right. And when that happens, I just tell you what, from the broadcasting side, if I'm at the game and that happens, I'm losing my mind because I'm like, the bomb, the 80-yard bomb, you know. So, I mean, it's going to be awesome to watch the development of this sport, right? I mean, I really am so excited about it. I love the talk in the hallways of the girls. Yesterday, Northside's girl, Trinity Davis, I think she scored a couple times in that game. And, you know, to watch her normally after basketball's over, she kind of just mopes around. She's walking through the hallway, going to class. She's herself. But, you know, I mean, really upbeat yesterday, really confident about it. And I just see this from all of the schools as this grows, and I'm so excited. I know we got Frank Chapman was watching this, and Frank, if you're still hearing this, you know, Haywood. I mean, I think about the girls that when I was coaching at Haywood for tackle football back in the day, and we had the Granberries and some of the folks come through there that played at Memphis and other places like that, and I'm thinking like, their sisters and their girl cousins, like they could have been out on the tackle football field. If we'd have had flag football, like it would have been, because they were so fast, they were physical. Now, obviously differently with the rules, but you know, I'm thinking about the speed. I mean, we had a girl, she could throw a ball 40 yards in a heartbeat. You know, I'm thinking, wow, how much quicker could we have been, you know, down the field if you could do those things? And I'm like, I just can't wait to watch this sport morph into hopefully a TWA sanctioned, fully championship eligible sport, because it's so exciting. It's so exciting. And I don't know how you guys feel about it as coaches, but I'm like, wow, I could go back and coach again, like in a heartbeat, like this right here, because one, I mean, you think about it, it's a 45-minute game, probably max. Right, we messed up yesterday I wasn't running the official game clock, but that last 2 minutes, when we started looking at the rule book on when it starts, when it stops, when it shouldn't, when it should, I was like, and again, having that official down on the field saying stop the clock or start the clock or something like that, that's important. But the rules are way different on when the clock should and shouldn't start, and how it, you know, after a dead ball, or, you know, normally the official's out there bowling it in or this, that, and none of that was happening. But it's 36 straight minutes, 18 and 18 of the halves before the clock would even stop, right? So it's done and over with in a heartbeat. Like, I mean, you get back into coaching and not feel like you've been out there for 17 hours on a Friday night.
Yeah, it is definitely a lot quicker, right? That last 2 minutes is similar, if not the exact same as most other football stoppages, you know, but that 18 minutes at first, it goes by very fast.
Yeah.
I mean, it really does. just watching it, even in the sense of I'm just watching for certain things. You look up and it's like, wait a minute, we've already done 10 minutes of this half.
Right.
And then tackle football, you're like, I've been on the field for an hour and I still have a minute left in the first quarter. Oh my,
Yeah.
So.
And I would say that's the thing it's a great relief, and it's somewhat of an adjustment because you get some Fridays you're watching, it's like, well, we've done like 20 plays, only 4 minutes have gone by. But this, we've done 4 plays and 10 of 12 have just bled by. So it's as the game continues to grow for us here, it's going to be exciting to see the style of play to grow with it, because there's going to be some games where it's going to be some fast-paced shootouts. It's going to be some games where it's going to be truly like a chess match, a methodical down the field, back and forth, like they're stopping us, we're stopping them. So, and that's going to be great to see in the midst of like a game that is zooming by fast, that you still get to see those in the midst of that.
Right. Is it 2 timeouts per half for?
I believe so.
I think it's what I read in the rule book. 2 timeouts per half.
I believe so.
So
I know it's not 3.
Right.
I believe it's. At one point I thought it was 2 a game, but I think it is 2 a half.
Okay. All right. And so what about overtime rules? What are because I didn't see that in the rule book.
Okay. So we actually, there was a small debate about that.
Okay. All right.
But I believe they answered the question about the 1 point being able to run it in, right? So essentially, it is the NCAA tackle football 2-point shootout rule.
Okay.
But you can choose. Basically, you flip the coin, choose offense, defense. Well, when you're on offense, whoever's first on offense gets to choose a 1-point or a 2-point play. So let's say that we went to overtime, we get the ball, and we've just got a 10-yard play that we know is going to work. We're going to go for 2. Well, the good thing is if you go for 2 and you make it, they still have the choice to go for 1. But like the guy said, I think it was Larry, he said, well, I can tell you who's going to win that game.
Right.
So they have to then go for 2.
Yeah.
The downside of that is if we go for 2 and don't make it, they can go for 1 and win.
Okay.
Right. So it is still a choice.
Yeah.
It's not set like, hey, we decide to go for 2, so no matter what, you have to go for 2. No, if we don't make it and they choose to go for 1 and then score, it's over.
Right.
So it is that back and forth, just like even tackle football is, where they get it from the 10 and go in, and then you get to match it. If they score a touchdown, and so it's similar.
Yeah, it's like you don't score your touchdown, I'm gonna kick the field goal, and this game's gonna be over with.
Right.
Right.
It's I call it the shootout version. And then I believe they did say, let's say both teams go for 1, both teams make it. I believe then you flip flop. You would be on offense first, we would be on defense. They get to choose type thing. The big question that we had, and it's actually in the rules, it was just kind of overlooked. Let's say that they're going for 1, they throw it, it's intercepted, and then we're zooming downfield. Well, there's a penalty for pushing somebody out of bounds. It's not, that's a penalty. So an interception return during a point after, whether it's 1 or 2, is a 2-point play.
Okay.
But you have to go the length of the field to do it. So the debate there was kind of a next year's rule thing is, do you just want to turn an interception on a point after just 1 point, no matter what, whether it's a 2 or a 1-point conversion, and not make them go down the field? Because like I said, I'm going to tell them, push them out of bounds, because then how do you do that, right? Do you replay the entire 2-point conversion? Do you just penalize?
Okay.
Right? So that was kind of I wouldn't say heated debate, but it was definitely a good questionable thing of how do you handle that, because that would make a huge difference in an overtime game if it boiled down to that.
Yeah.
Is if somebody has to or they're going for 2 and they throw the pick, or even going for 1, they throw the pick and then don't allow the other team to do it. Obviously, if you scored first and you throw a pick, it's over. It doesn't matter. Go down, ball game anyway.
Right.
But if they go score, then it's ball game, right? If I'm on defense first and I pick it and I go score, it's over with. But I don't know if there's supposed to be 2 rules for regular versus overtime, because then the argument is as well, if I pick it in overtime And that's my point. That doesn't mean that they don't stop me on defense. So how do I know I would have actually scored? You know, so I don't know how they handle that. Especially with the penalty of pushing them out of bounds.
Yeah. So obviously there's some talk that's going to have to be continued to have, which is why it's still an emerging sport.
And I think that's
right?
a very, very, very rare situation of what we're talking about. You know, but as a whole, overtime rule is shootout.
But it's that one guy, like in the NCAA tournament or whatever, that makes that bet on that one squirrely rule that nobody ever calls that happens, and they win $50,000 off of it. You know, at some point it's going to come up, and you got to be prepared for it. Otherwise, you won't be, and somebody's going to get cheated and feel cheated and this and that. And we obviously don't want that.
Right.
I don't care about grown men. I don't care if the Patriots cheat and then get beat or whatever. I don't care, right? But in high school, these are kids. They need to have the fairness, right? You know, I was talking to Coach Tommy Separillo, who now is an umpire for college baseball, and he's like, you know, those kids at the NAIA or Division II or even high school deserve the best umping and officiating they can get. So if you're going to umpire at that level, then go be the best you can be at that level, right? So, and I completely agree with it. Don't cheat our kids out. Let them decide who the better team is on the field. That's just me.
I agree.
Coach, so moving forward, we were supposed to see 3 games yesterday. JCM was did not have their team Thursday. JCM did not have their team ready yet, so it was ECH and Northside. But normally it's an ABC 3-team format. A plays B, A plays C, A is done, then B goes and plays C, and they get their second game in, and you play 2 games out of the 3 teams. So have either one of you guys were first go around, so first regular season game for Northside. Have you guys played another game, or was this your first regular season game?
Well, that was so Thursday was our first regular season game too.
Okay. So neither one of you have experienced that yet. So it's because obviously you're going to play 2 different teams in that day, 2 different potential styles of offense, 2 different styles of defense. My thought process is, in going forward, if we were in that boat, is what does the coaching and the mindset look like, and because you had to somewhat prepare for it in case JCM was ready to go Thursday, but they weren't, so you didn't have that. But what's the mindset of playing 2 different teams like that on one day? Because normally you don't do that, right?
I'm a big believer in just do us.
Okay.
Just be us. Just worry about us. You know, it's because it's new. You know, we don't really have film. We're not doing a film study on Southside or Liberty or ECA. It's just like, well, we're going to go out there and we're going to run our stuff. We're going to set our defense up. Yes, we can adjust. We'll practice certain things for, if they do this type of adjustment, or at least coaching wise, we'll think of it. But for the most part, I'd say you just pretty much have to be prepared to do your best. I think that as long as we know what our game plan is offensively and defensively, if we get stopped, we get stopped. If we can't stop them, we can't stop them. How can we adjust in game? It's going to be a little more reactive in that nature. Whereas with tackle football, obviously you get film, you see all the things, you see those tendencies, and then you still in the back of your head are going, okay, what is my reaction to that what if moment? But with flag, it's being, it's more, it's a little freer, like we said, and it's a little more fun for the coaches. We're not worried about all the things. We're not overthinking stuff. We're just, we're letting them go out. We're giving them plays. We're letting them do their thing, and I mean, I hate to say it as it is what it is, but really it is. Obviously you want to win, but there's not the most preparation for another team. It's more just us being prepared.
Right. What about you guys?
So for us, I mean, and this is a discussion I've kind of already had with our girls, so we understand that we will, moving forward, play multiple games. And it's kind of the same sentiment of, we can control what we can control. Our goal is to execute our offense, execute our defense. And there's not, as far as, I'm concerned, there's not really much of, do I need to scheme a certain way for one team and more for another? It's more so of, if we're executing on offense and defense the way that we're supposed to, the rest is history. And I mean, if we're not doing what we're supposed to do on our end, on either side of the ball, it doesn't matter how much game planning, how much scheming, it just doesn't matter. So for us, it's building consistency, doing, whether that's if we just run 5 plays or if we run 30 plays. If we run these 5 plays really well and we're producing off of them, we're going to continue to do that, because until they stop that, there's no point to do anything different. So for us, it's building consistency, knowing our assignments, knowing what we're supposed to do, and executing in that, as opposed to, well, this team runs this offense, this team runs this offense. If we do what we're supposed to do and we're doing it at a high level, we'll be fine.
What is something that you have seen so far, and coaches, both of you will answer this question, what is something that, all right, this is going to be, and it's not negative because these rules are obviously adapted to something that's fresh, right, to us, but this is something that's going to have to be changed for this game moving forward. What is something that you've already caught on to? So to me, it definitely is that official conversation we had earlier. People from the stands are going to need to know, because when the flag goes up, or why are my kids going backwards when we just had this play, right? So, but what is something that you feel, all right, we're going to have to take a look at this moving forward?
Well, for me, one thing, and I mean, it's not necessarily it is in the rules as far as like how it works. For me, the biggest, I think, frustration I had, especially from the offensive side, was just the play clock. So it just felt like there's times like we just ran a play, we're just not coming in to get the play, and we hadn't even taken but like 5 seconds, and we turn around and we're here. There's 3 seconds left before a delay a game. Like 25 seconds moved extremely fast. So whether that's like hooking up the time clock so we can see, like whether our offense or our quarterbacks can see, like, hey, time's flying. It just felt like there were times where like it wasn't quite 25 seconds. Okay. So that was very, very frustrating, because now we're having to rush down, which leads to a lot of false starts, which leads to players not really being set because they don't really know time-wise what they're operating with. Especially if I just ran the play, we just pulled a girl's flag, and now we're going to set the offense up, and we've gotten the play in 2 seconds, but all of a sudden now here I have 2 seconds before I delay a game. So like for me, that's the biggest thing of how can we fix that to make sure that it is fluid, it is consistent, because then that'll in itself eliminate a lot of the not being set and feeling kind of rushed and kind of that sloppiness of the play of the game.
Right.
I would say my major rule issue or change has got to be with the punts, right?
Okay.
Not that they have to go away, but we brought it up in the meeting, is if you punt from the 31, the ball is placed on the 1. If you punt from the 30, it's placed on the 15. Because the rule,
explain that to me then.
in the rules it says it's a 30-yard mark-off for punting.
Okay.
When it's inside the 30, it's half the distance.
Oh, okay. All right.
The
So if
31 is outside the 30.
Right.
It's a 30-yard walk-off.
Right.
I got a couple of ideas on what it should be. I mean, it was almost stated that it's going to be a rule change, but if that doesn't change, that's definitely an exploit that you could have where you're really putting somebody in a situation where they shouldn't be in that situation.
Yeah. And I think one of you said this earlier, right? This game is kind of, for coaches, maybe become a chess match, right? It's going to be hey, how can I exploit that rule, right? So I got down here, I'm not going to make it. I'm not moving the ball very far. I don't want to gain 2 yards. I just want to gain 1, and then the ball goes to the 1 yard line. I'm going to pin it back and let my defense, who's playing pretty good, maybe intercept the ball running in, or I'm going to let them head on the 15, right? So
or a bad snap at the 1 becomes a safety.
Yeah.
Because once it's fumbled,
right,
fumble in the end zone is a safety.
Yeah, definitely.
So and that's a very simple change. It really is. It could simply be that it's punts. In my opinion, punts probably don't need to be 30 yards. I think 20 is a little too short. I think maybe 25 might be the right number, because you got to think, for the most part, you're probably punting between the 20 and the 20, right? So 25-yard punt that's pretty good. Even if they leave it at 30, that's fine. But then you got to go, okay, well, once you're in the opposite half, it's got to be half the distance.
Yeah.
It's just that simple.
Right. Okay. Coaches, and just final thought here before we go. We got a big soccer game. Tennessee Tempo coming in to play the Jackson Boom tonight at USJ. Tickets are $10. Get over there tonight. Pre-professional soccer right here in West Tennessee. I got to get over there as well. So we're going to cut just a few minutes short today, but just closing out. Coach, what's so far? What's been the most exciting about having this sport in TSSAA?
For us, just how it's affected the school, and how these girls who might not have ever played a sport are now participating in sports, and how you have girls who have played multiple sports. They're also adding something new we've had girls who are very passionate about football and wanted to play but never had an opportunity, and now they have that. But also, just with the school, going back to that piece, is for them, because this is the first ECH standalone sport. This is the first thing that these girls are getting to participate in. Like, they're carving out history in its own way. Yeah. So, and people are getting behind that, and they're seeing that, and they're embracing that this is something that's never before seen, never before done. And we get to sit back and watch. Like, how many opportunities as a high schooler do you get to say that not only did you get to watch it, or you were a part of history? Mm-hmm. So for them, they get to do that. They get to walk in that.
Yeah, definitely. What about you, Coach?
I think you said it earlier, just seeing those girls being excited during the spring. They have a sport. If softball and baseball, it's a very small part of the population. Yeah. Yes, flag football is too, but it brings out something in the girls that's different, and they get excited. They want to watch film. Calling out my guys. I mean, some of these girls are watching more film than the guys do, and they're telling me about it. They're asking questions about it. Like, they want to know what's going on. They want to showcase what they're doing. Right. I was trying to look at film the other day, and Trinity Davis, actually, she comes in. She goes, "Can you go to offense? Look at that catch. Look what I did." Oh, and Amelia, she comes in, and I dropped that one ball. I said, okay, but what else did you do? Type deal, where she was excited, but then she got upset. It's the fact that they're caring about it. Yeah. So just the excitement of those young ladies, to me, is really the most rewarding side of it in general, of course, but just seeing it in school, you seeing it, you picking up on it. It's just can't beat it. Really can. Definitely. All right, so I'm going to turn this, Coach. I told Coach before, Coach Wilson, I told Coach Mitchell before the conversation here, I had one tackle football question, okay? So obviously it was all about flag football right now, but I do have, because of what's going on in the NCAA right now and Colorado, right? So Colorado has petitioned the NCAA to have a spring inter-squad practice and a game with Clemson, I believe, and I don't know how big of a college football fan you are per se, but I know we talk quite a bit about this. So, what's your guys' thought? I'm for it. I'm for, high schools have been doing this, in the state of Florida and some of the different states, bigger states of high school football. We had a whole month of football, and then we had a game against another school. We've been doing that for years, and so I'm for this. But what's your guys' thoughts on that? Okay, I love it, and I don't know if it's a good idea type person. Okay. Right? Because of the transfer portal being the way it is, you got schools like Texas, Penn State, Ohio State, all these schools opting out of their own spring game. I think it's a great idea. I love it in the sense of, like you said, we look forward to not only our spring game in the inter-squad, but then going against, past couple of years we've played Riverside. It just gets us the ability to hit somebody else. So as a football player, I would love it. Whether it's high school, college, whatever, I get to hit somebody that's not my teammate, that's not my friend. In that aspect of college, I just look at it and I go, man, that's unfortunately just another place for other schools to come in and look at these kids and essentially get free numbers, free recruitment of them, to then be like, hey, we need that guy. How much money can we send his way?
All right.
So I'll
negative.
Give you the rebuttal.
Coach, what's your thoughts on that?
That's a tough one to argue there, because I think too. I mean, even when I played, that feeling of getting to play someone else that isn't the same people we've seen every day, like there's something about that. It fuels you a little bit more.
Right.
But I think the portal thing, it is a big issue. It does kind of cloud that. I think if that was, maybe if we, and I don't know how we've gotten as far as like the portal window. If you find like scheduling it somewhere after where it's closed, now we're locked in on. Now you got who you got.
Right.
That's a whole different situation, because now you can put your players out there and you don't have to worry about, well, maybe this person's going to leave or that. Because then, I mean, you can also run into the idea of, yes, players are leaving, but I can see a need where now maybe I can try to go to that school. Like, hey, maybe they could use another receiver, or they could use a running back, because the ones they got aren't cutting it. So, I mean.
Yeah. So my thought on that was, what if your spring scrimmage locks your players into the university? So if you come in and you say, okay, the college football season's over, we've had our national championship, you got 30 days of a transfer portal. After that 30 days, you're locked in, and because now you're preparing for your spring scrimmage. If you're playing, and make everybody do it, because as soon as you get done and you're locked in, that is your team. Now, if somebody leaves, they can leave, but they can't go play somewhere next year, right?
I mean, you'd still have to sit out.
You'd have to sit out there.
Because I was going to say, define locked in, because look at UNLV with their quarterback this past season.
Yeah.
He was locked in until he wasn't.
Right. But
of course, he sat out. It hurt, but then the NCAA is going to be like, oh, we'll give you another year, because you got 29-year-old Cam Ward, or however old he is. I apologize. But, I get it. I mean, and it's never going to change. I mean, I say never going to change. The transfer portal is always going to be there.
Right.
But whenever that clear line is set, then you don't have to worry about, oh, well, I'm going to lose him for next season.
Right.
Then people are going to be a little more open to that stuff. Because like I said, I love the idea. I think it's great. I mean, I kind of wish they would come up with some type of spring league where it was more so for like the junior varsities that a lot of these big schools have, aka your practice squatters.
Yeah.
Give them an opportunity to play other people instead of just get beat up by the big boys.
Starters every day. Yeah, I think as long as you locked them in, if you had a clear-cut rule of some sort that would lock you in, so let's say after February 1, if you have not transferred, or February 15th, or whatever you're going to make that day, if you have not transferred, then you'll either play for Ohio State or Florida or Tennessee that year and in the fall, or you'll have to sit out. And if you want to sit out, that's on you. I mean, but for some players that hurts their NFL draft, especially for juniors and seniors, right? I mean, if you're a freshman, maybe you don't care. But if you're
and of course that's getting away
Jeremiah
from
Smith,
any type
you
of
care.
It's getting away from any type of like one-off situation. Like I got to transfer home because of family something, and I'm at Ohio State, but I live in Knoxville, and Tennessee's in my backyard. There's always going to be those type of transfers that get approved over the summer or whatever the case may be. So, yes, I agree. If they'll do something like that, then you'll probably see more schools wanting to do it. And like I said, I'm a fan of a spring league for whatever, case for the younger guys that aren't playing another sport, that are just getting beat up every day and stuff like that. But,
definitely.
Yes, I want to see Colorado play Clemson in the spring. I want to see whoever, X and Y play.
Yeah.
Even in the sense of it is a spring game and you're only going to see the starters for two rounds,
Right. Yeah, something
is better than nothing.
Yeah. Coach Mitchell, Coach Wilson, guys, thanks for coming in today. Appreciate it. Early College High, Northside played this past week. You guys took one on the chin a little bit there, but I'm sure you'll be rebounded and back ready to go next week. And, hey, I mean, you guys have really practiced, 3 weeks? I mean, it's not been a whole lot of time, because we had spring break thrown in there. A lot of kids may have been gone, so early season, and we guys, we wish you much success in the season this year. So we're going to step away. We missed our commercial break. We're going to throw our commercial break in here. We'll be back to close things out. We got professional soccer in Jackson, Tennessee tonight. $10 tickets, $5 for kids at the gate. Come out and watch Tennessee Tempo versus the Jackson Boom, and the new Tom Christian, the Brazilian goalkeeper for Malta, is playing for the Boom this year. Come out and watch Tom and get an autograph. He'll be from the Champions League in soccer. I'm sure he'll be right back there once our season's over and the fall rolls around for Champions League. So we're going to take a quick 60-second break. I'll be back to close it out, and we're going to get over to USJ for some soccer. Don't go away, folks.
Get ready, basketball fans, and welcome to The Bound, your go-to destination for
gentlemen,
all things
thank you
hoops.
so much
Join
for
us
swinging by
every Thursday
today.
night from 6 to
And,
7 p.m.
we'll,
starting
if
February
kids in,
13th.
you know,
Andrew
in the near
Hicks will bring
future,
you the
next couple
wildest
weeks,
highlights, in-depth
just let me know.
discussions on trades,
I'm here
injury
every
updates,
Saturday.
and
Let me know, and we'll get some kids on
Whether you're a
talk about it. I
hardcore
think it'll be good
enthusiast
for,
or just looking for some
you know, maybe
epic
get
plays,
some
we've got
community,
something for everyone. So grab
folks
your favorite
watching.
snacks.
We've had,
tune in
I think,
for the action-packed
380
episodes
people
each and
watch
every
already.
Thursday night on the Hub City Sports
so,
Network. Don't forget to like and share
hopefully,
this video with your
get
friends.
some
and we'll
excitement
see
about
you in the
this.
next
Get
stream.
your attendance up.
As the road you travel changes, so can your insurance needs. Talking with Farmers Insurance agent Jeremy Chandler can help you assess whether you're ready for the journey ahead. There's a reason the Jeremy Chandler Agency was voted Best Insurance Agency in VIP Magazine's Best in Jackson 2024. Give Jeremy a call today at 731-FARMERS and find out why. That's Jeremy Chandler at 731-327-6377 or contact him at 731farmers.com.
Gotcha. So, yeah. All right, guys. Appreciate it. And y'all have a great weekend. We'll see you.
All right. Sports Talk Live with the coach. That's me, Coach T. Stratton, live on location right here at Caddy Sports Club. Caddy's the world premier indoor golfing facility right here in Jackson, Tennessee. And I believe you might be able to watch Boom Soccer tonight right here on one of the TVs. We're going to make sure that's confirmed. We'll let you know social media-wise. But come out and support the Boom tonight. Jackson Boom playing at USJ will be on the field. 5:05 kickoff. And these soccer games run pretty quick, 45-minute running clocks. And, you'll be home. But we got the concession stand loaded and the goodies there. Come out and support the Jackson Boom tonight. It's a $10 ticket. Take your family out for a night and get yourself a hot dog and some nachos from the concession stand, chili cheese dogs, and chili nachos as well. And a water or a fountain drink, and man, just support the Boom. So for all of us here at Sports Talk Live and the Hub City Sports Network, we're off just a little bit early today for this game tonight. Have a great night, and we'll see you in the next stream.